This episode has been brought to you by Manscaped. The new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GULCH20 for 20% off plus free shipping today. This week on the Heart of the Gulch YouTube Show, we sit down with musician/songwriter Sammy Arriaga. In today's Walk the Line episode, we follow Sammy as he goes to the ExitInn here in Nashville, Tennessee, and he performs for a large crowd. Let's check out the episode. We are in the heart of the Gulch. My name is Tony Mendoza, your host, and I'm so excited for today's guest. Not only am I excited because he is a Latino like myself, I'm also super excited because this person is creating music but making waves in two different locations. We're talking Latinos and Americans here with his music. Country first, but he's always going to be Latino, the one and only Sammy Arriaga in the building.
What's going on, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm swell, man. I've just been so excited with this incredible year so far, full of blessings, and just happy to be here, brother. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I love it. Bring that mic a little closer to you right there. Perfect, just like that, man. So, Sammy, one thing I learned when I was doing all my research on you, man, so Miami.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my gosh. Talk to me about Miami. Talk to me about the Cuban culture that you are around all the time and which you are.
Yeah, Miami, I tell all my friends that they always message me, hey, I'm going to Miami for the first time. I'm like, well, get ready to feel like you're leaving the States because, Miami is naturally, filled with people from all over the world, right? Mostly like Latinos and Europeans and all kinds. And I always tell them to be ready for the melting pot effect. It's definitely night and day different from Nashville.
Oh my gosh, night and day different.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's like I say, step into another world.
That's right.
Because that is what it's going down to. But what I love about that area of the United States, so South Florida, and some of y'all that are watching this are probably from South Florida. Man, it's just the culture. It's rich with culture, rich with community. And it's something, honestly, you don't get that a lot in the United States, South Florida kind of vibe, You don't. And, it's a city that doesn't sleep till like 7 a.m. Oh. People literally dancing, drinking mango margaritas, vodka sodas, hanging on the beach till like, the sun wakes up. Where's your tan at, man? You moved up here and you lost your tan, huh?
Every time I get on calls with the family, they're like, "Estás bien, hijito? Are you okay?" Because I look kind of sick to them, right? Because they're so used to seeing like sun-kissed skins. But no, man, I've been in my cave, so focused on music that I haven't seen the sun in forever. And as you know, Nashville can't make up its mind. It literally one day the sun will come out and we're all like, "Oh my God, give me vitamin D.
Let's go walk,
please." Yeah, so I'm trying my best to take advantage of the sunlight while we got it.
Well, and also you got the roots, so I know that you tan very well.
You would not believe it. I do not tan very well.
You don't tan well? Nope. You just get red?
I get like lobster red, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I think it's the Spaniard in me.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so my ancestors are from Spain originally, and that's where I get the last name Arriaga. It's actually from Spanish royalty. And I guess, the green eyes, blonde hair, olive skin. I guess that's where I get it from. And you leave me in the sun for 30 minutes, even if it's like just cutting through the clouds just a little, and I am a lobster.
Well, hey, not everyone has the Aztec warrior dark skin, and that's one thing I've learned about traveling to Mexico is that you see so many variants because Spaniard heritage. That's what my mom was somewhere down the line. But outside of all that, so talk to me about, growing up in that area of the United States. I mean, what were some of the things that you would do on a regular basis that they don't do here in Nashville and elsewhere? I mean, talk to me about those roots of growing up in that Miami area.
Yeah, that's a great question. Growing up, I was, immediately, put into an environment filled with different kinds of music, right? Like EDM, hip hop, rap. Like for those of, most most of my friends back home, you know, they got me into rap and hip hop early on, and that's where I found my love for music and for songwriting. You know, whenever people ask me like, who's your hero, who's the guy who got you, you know, into music, and it's Eminem, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, and wow. I just really appreciated how, you know, even though his lyric is not as family friendly as, you know, some wish it'd be, you know, his early stuff like Marshall Mathers and stuff. I just love how the aggression and the storytelling, the passion that he just exuded onto the microphone, it spoke to me. And, you know, it taught me what it meant to like put lyrics to a piece of paper and like mean it. Like, right. Because there's a difference. You can sing great, right? There's a singers and then there's performers. And Eminem really, you know, opened my mind to become a performer early on. And so being in Miami, you know, exposed me to that kind of, you know, style early on. And then little by little, I started picking up instruments like the saxophone, like the guitar, and started taking singing classes down there. And that ultimately led to my love for country music, which wasn't a genre that I listened to growing up, actually. But, you know, when I picked up the guitar, I realized that that was the genre that, you know, it was perfect for the singer guitar combo. And I instantly fell in love with the storytelling, similar to the Eminem stuff. I felt the same sentiment listening to country music, old and new. So I did my homework, started studying up old school country music, new school, and then that led to my desire to move to Nashville and pursue the crazy dream.
You know, I don't know what it is about our roots, because from South Texas, when I think of guitar, the first thing I think about is mariachi. Okay. Because I did not grow up with country music at all. But it may be our heritage. You know, our heritage, when you think about your family, right? Were they always listen to country music?
Nobody listened to country music.
Nobody listened
Zero.
to Same.
And, you know, since I'm of Cuban descent, you know, it was very common to hear salsa, merengue, reggaeton every once in a while, because, you know, Puerto Rico is like right next to us. And so, you know, I tell all my friends that every Latin country has its own style of music. You know, Tejano, corridos, you know, regional Mexican, that's more of the Mexican style. And then, you know, salsa merengue is more Cuba, cumbia, and, you know, that's more of a Colombia thing. And then you got bachata as well. So there's so many different styles.
Variations.
And those were all sounds that basically, you know, became the fusion of, you know, the artist that I became today. So
I think that's amazing. And one thing, so you were talking about lyrics and meaning something with your lyrics. Well, I'll tell you right now, you can pause the video right now and go to his YouTube channel, because The Boat, I can't listen to it. I can't listen to that.
Thank you, man.
It is one of those songs that I immediately heard, and you just released that here in 2024.
I did.
And that is the most scariest song I can listen to, because now, granted, my parents, funny enough, I'm sorry that I'm breaking into this, but funny enough that my dad, who's Latinos don't live past, at least in my family, around 76, almost to 80. And my dad's creeping up on the age, getting in his 60s. So you can kind of see the finishing line.
Totally.
And that song, The Boat, dude, yeah, I stopped listening to it halfway, bro.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. It came from a very tender place in my heart. You know, my dad, he's my best friend in the whole wide world. And, you know, I don't think anybody on this earth is ready for the departure, right? And so that's kind of what the song is inspired by, is that very moment where you had to have that tough conversation with a loved one and just discuss about, you know, those things that they're going to pass down to you that hold so many memories. And, you know, there's times where, you know, you just can't handle the emotional weight, right, that those items bring. And so I tell my friends that the song's not about a boat. It's basically like the boat is just the vessel of what the hidden meaning of the song is. And so since my dad is so in love with the ocean and fishing is his biggest passion, I felt like writing a song like The Boat would not only be like an ode to my to my superhero,
Absolutely,
but to also, to everyone out there who might be in a similar situation where, they're about to receive something from a loved one, and they're just like, I literally cannot possess that, because every time I think of, I have it in my possession, I'm going to think of somebody that I miss, and it's too much to handle.
The struggle must have been to write that. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to think of it. So, I mean, what was your headspace at when you were writing a song like that?
But that's one of those songs that instantly, when we were in the writing room, by the time we finished the first verse and the first chorus, I was already tearing up.
Yeah,
and that was like,
absolutely.
And that was the sign, and as a creator, you don't really get emotional about your product until the consumer's finally like showing you how they feel about it. But that was the first time in the writing room, in the actual studio, that it evoked emotions. And that was the sign from above of like, this is going to be the song that's going to kind of reignite everything in me.
But your dad inspired you to go to Full Sail, correct?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Latin families are very much like, you gotta go get a degree, and you gotta have a plan
Safety
B.
net, baby.
The safety net, yeah. And so my dad is like, look, I get it. You love music and you're really good at it, but it's not a sustainable career. Like it's one of the hardest industries to get in, to break through in, and if you don't know people, it's going to be nearly impossible to just make a living, honestly. And so he's like, I think it'd be in your best interest to just invest 2 years of your life into a degree, so that way you can at least have something to fall back on, right? And I appreciate him for that, because as an entrepreneur that he is, he came from literally nothing, from Cuba, and then came to the States and made a whole empire for himself. Somebody like him would have easily been like, just chase your dream. But he didn't. He was like, no, you got to do things
the right way.
The right way, be smart about it, be a man about it. And so he told me to just make the move to Orlando, get a degree, study recording arts. I could learn how to do the boards and all that kind of stuff. And I realized really quick that school is just not my thing. I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit in a room like knowing that all my friends were in Nashville writing songs, playing shows, doing the thing. And I just honestly one day didn't even tell my parents, packed up my bags and went to the office and said, hey, just so you guys know, I'm not coming back tomorrow.
Speaking of things that have already passed, I'm not going to let you go without talking about American Idol. I know you're got to be tired of it at this point, but talk to me about how the process was for you, and, would you ever go through something like that again?
I think looking back, after all these years, it's been a very long time since we did those auditions. I mean, they're kind of like, there's been days where I even forget that I did them. That's been that long ago. But I will say that I'm thankful that I did them, because I was, very young. I didn't know anything about the industry. I was still working on my identity as a musician, right? I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to, what I wanted to say to the world through my music. And, what my voice was going to end up sounding like, because
so young.
Yeah, you're so young, you're developing your voice, you're developing your sound. And I think it's healthy for any, aspiring musician, singer, performer to just immerse yourself in that world and just, see what it's like. It never hurts, right? Especially, if you make it pretty far into those shows, you get great exposure to, bigger audiences on TV, and you do a bunch of great press as well. You get to meet other incredible performers as well. That's something that I was, blessed to do. I met a lot of my friends today, actually. I met them back in the auditions in Hollywood, back in 2011 when I did.
You're not the only person to say that. A lot of people say that go through those processes, whether it's Idol, The Voice, they all come out with great friends. Correct. After the fact, which is, that's crazy to me. So I guess it really is what they say. It's like band camp.
Yeah, of course. It can be tricky, because there's of course going to be those artists that they don't know how to, I guess, how to handle themselves around other performers that are after the same dream, because you got to think about everybody's after the same thing. Everybody's trying to win. So there's always going to be those artists that aren't like hanging out with the crew because they're kind of doing their own thing. But then there's always those guys that and girls that come around you that just want to build community, and they're in it to make connections and just be friends with one another and have each other's back and root for one another. And, you know, that's the kind of the energy that I searched for when I was doing the auditions back in the day. And I'm thankful that I was able to make some great friends. And I'll tell you a funny story. I actually recently did a hometown show, but they had me open for the mystery act. And turns out it was Scotty McCreery. And Scotty was the winner of the same season that I auditioned for American Idol. And I got to meet him in Hollywood. So like, it was just a wild full circle moment for me, like just walking backstage, not knowing who it was yet. And then when I walked into the green room, he was just there. And I'm like, oh my God, are you the mystery act? And then it was just an incredible moment, us hugging each other. Like, this is crazy.
What's still amazing though, is I know you're a competitive guy, right? You have to be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
sure. I think we all have a little competitiveness inside of us.
So in that moment though, when you see someone like, you know, Scotty and yourself, and you're opening up for Scotty, y'all were in the same level at the same point at one point.
Correct.
And that's that same way with, like, for example, Hannah Dasher and Lainey Wilson.
Hannah.
Shout out to, thank you for coming on the show, Hannah. I appreciate you. But it was the same thing with Hannah and Lainey. Right. And, you
Absolutely.
know, so I'm going to ask you the same question I asked her. Right. So how does that make you feel? Does that motivate you? Does it also bum you out too?
You know, I will say right off the bat, you know, as an entrepreneur, my dad always taught me to always strive to do something that no one else is doing. And so, you know, if that's the case, if you're chasing something or building something that no one else is, you're your only competition. And so that's the mindset that I challenge myself with every single morning, is to never compare myself and just squash the demon of comparison by simply focusing on what is everybody around me not doing. That's what I'm going to do.
That goes perfectly into our break, because talking about mastering things, we got to get to your transition here to Nashville and how you mastered, you know, the art of not only speaking in Spanish, but creating songs that are popular in Spanish into a whole nother audience that may not listen to country music, and they're hearing one of their own being able to speak Spanish and change the way they think about country music. But we'll be right back right after this. Wintertime is almost over. Spring is on the way. So fellas, it's time to pull out your junk and assess the damage. Trim those hedges, mow those lawns. And no, I'm not talking about grass. I'm talking about what's in between your Manscaped new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're going for a trim or that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GULCH20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Okay, so Sammy, we have not talked about you moving to Nashville yet. And first of all, shout out to our sponsors. We appreciate you, and thank you for keeping the lights on. Now, yeah, talk to me about moving, that first initial move to Nashville when you made your choice to come up here. And you already had friends up here, but have you ever been to Nashville before that point?
Yeah, I actually came to Nashville for a very brief moment. I mean, it's literally a blur because it was that fast. But I did an audition for American Idol here, and I actually didn't get through. And then my dad said, we're not giving up. We're going to New Orleans. Went to New Orleans, got accepted to Hollywood, and then the rest is history. The one thing that I tell everybody that, and they don't really believe me when I tell them this, one of the reasons why I was able to make the 14-hour drive to Nashville a reality was because I would take the CDs in my glove compartment and rip out the booklets, you know, the booklets inside of the jewel cases. And I would literally go to like the songwriter credits, the producers, the engineers, the musicians. I mean, that was just like I want to make sure that if I'm targeting, you know, when I'm messaging the people that I want to talk to from Nashville, I want to make sure that they're in the ballpark musically, sonically, where I find myself. You know what I'm saying? On a creative level. I did it with like Keith Urban booklets, Rascal Flatts booklets. I mean, all kinds of booklets, but those were my two favorites. And I probably added maybe over 100 people on Facebook. And I would just create a template message and say, hey, I'm Sammy. Here's my SoundCloud link and a YouTube link to one of my performances here in Orlando, Florida. I'm planning on making the big move to Nashville, but I don't really know anybody there. I would love for you to check this out and give me your honest feedback. And out of like 100 messages, I got like 6 or 7 people to reply.
That's all you need.
And that's really all you, exactly. Yeah. It's really all you need. And that gave me the confidence, the boost that I needed to just like pack up my car and just go. I literally had towels on the passenger seat because I knew that I was just going to probably pull up in like a gas station and, you know, cover my windows and sleep in my car if I had to. But I was ready. I was fully committed.
You know, when you first got into town, which was, what year was that? That was
2011.
2011. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, 13 years.
Yeah. So 13 years. They say it's a 10-year town. I hate that saying because I don't think it is 10 years for everyone. Yeah. But anyway, so when you moved into town, I mean, what was around for songwriters? Was there still the energy of songwriting together with people? And was there still venues for people to play for songwriter rounds?
I think that's the beauty of Nashville, that it's always had that. I feel like that's one of the reasons why people move to Nashville, is because it's kind of a Nashville thing, right? That's, you know, that they've basically created and made it, you know, that's why it got its name, Music City. It's that energy of like finding other people that are on the same wavelength as you, which is what I love about this town. It had that since the very start. You know, it had the co-writing vibes. There's tons of places in town that, you know, do these things called writers rounds. For those people that are watching that might not know, they're basically evenings where 3 or 4 songwriters will come together and share their songs and tell the stories behind the songs. And that allowed me to not only share the stage with other very successful songwriters early on, but it also kind of gave me that little jab of like, you got to get better.
Yeah.
Like the jab of like,
because it's competition.
Courage. Yeah.
People don't want to think of songwriting rounds being competition, but it is. It's like, if you see
even till this day.
Yeah, if you see one person, like, let's use example Whiskey Jam, right?
Yeah, so great example.
So Whiskey Jam, if you see someone break down the house, just make everyone just in
phones
awe.
Up, lights low, singing along, yeah.
And if you see that, and then the next guest is okay, but they're just not what it was before.
They're not pulling
that has to inspire that person that didn't pull in that same type of energy
to go home and be like, I gotta tighten the bolts.
Exactly. Does that drive you today when you go to, because you still do writers rounds
all the time?
So that's
how I gauge my new songs. I love it. I never bring a song on the road unless I come to a writers round and I play it for an audience that's giving me their full and undivided attention. And I'll literally tell them after the show, I want you guys to look me in the eye and tell me what you thought about that song, because your reaction will determine whether I release a song or not.
Talk about you doing it your own way, right? With using Spanish as a way to build more audience, which is crazy. That's not normal. And that's definitely not normal in country music, which is awesome. I got to give you an applause for that. But a question that I have around that, though, is, you know, with doing covers and doing different types of, and doing other folks' songs, right?
Yeah. You know, as somebody who's still, you know, I still consider myself a developing act, because, you know, I'm still rising, trying to get to know my audience, and also trying to make that audience, the bilingual audience, aware that I exist. And I think that by doing that through my renditions is healthier than me just releasing a song and it going absolutely bananas, and then that's it, and then it flats out, and then there's no coming back from that. Because I do think that we're in a time like these days where people remember songs, but it's very hard for them to remember artists. Everything on TikTok is viral sounds. You don't think of viral artists, think of viral sounds. And so as a way to defeat that, right? And my ultimate goal as an artist is for people to know me, is to not only know the melodies of my songs, and then when people go, do you know who sang that? And they go, oh, I don't know. No, I would prefer them remember me than remember my songs.
When you think about Instagram, when you think about TikTok's a little different, because TikTok is a community that I'm starting to notice.
Oh, yeah.
But powerful. Instagram's a great example of reels, right? There are reels that you love, and you will, if you're lucky, you save it. Because if you don't save it, that reel will never pop up in your feed again unless you're following the same kind of algorithm.
That's right.
So when I think about YouTube, I never wanted the show to be, you see so many podcasts nowadays, and shout out to all the people that are doing it. And all they do is they create videos to post on their Instagram. I think that is the dumbest thing to do, because if you keep everything and you channel people to your YouTube, where you have to search your name, right? They have to search Sammy, and they have to search Heart of the Gulch. I'll never get lost in the reels thing, because there's so many people that just do podcasts to make good reels.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of the person who did it because it was just a reel.
You just remember the content that was talked about, but you don't remember the content creator.
And that's why I used YouTube. But now TikTok is becoming, I don't want to say the new YouTube, but it is becoming where people are going and following creators like yourself just for your stuff and your style. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel to see your reach on that platform grow?
It's absolutely humbling, because, one of the main reasons why I moved to Nashville in the first place is because my dad, initially told me that, son, if you're going to move to Nashville, you might as well do something that no one else is. And the fact that you're Hispanic, I don't really see many Hispanics singing in country music. Now there is, of course, like regional Mexican, Tejano, corrido. That's where a lot of those artists get, country artists get their inspiration from. But in today's modern country, wave, it's not common, like you said, to see a Hispanic country artist, right? But now we have artists like Karin Leon, we have Frank Ray, we have Alyssa Dominguez, myself, and a few others. It's growing very rapidly. And it's very, very cool. I'm happy that I get to live to see the day. It took 13 years, and a hairline until I finally got to see it come to fruition. But thanks to tools like social media, it's allowing artists like myself that are doing things independently, not having the need to seek the approval of the industry and the machine that's basically calling the shots and deciding what's being consumed, right, on a larger scale. I'm basically just using the tools that are given to me: TikTok, Reels, YouTube, you name it. And I'm just thankful that my content is cutting through by simply being myself and representing my roots, and also showcasing that I could also sing, write, and perform in my native language, Spanish. And
that's one thing that I wish that my parents, so when my parents immigrated to this country, or not my parents, but my grandparents, they only spoke Spanish, right? And my grandparents died when I was very young. Shows you how old they were. But my parents never taught me Spanish as my first language, because when they went into the United States growing up, only speaking Spanish at first, it was actually frowned upon, believe it or not, in San Antonio, which is crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, wild.
You
would think that town would be the other way around,
100%.
but no, the stereotypical, it is what it is, right? So, but I say that to say this, is that our culture, the Latino culture, I think it's going to be with us, our generation, that's going to really put us in the forefront. Our community, the Latino community, is the most growing community in the United States. It's only a matter of time before reggaeton's already here. You already hear Bad Bunny is the number one artist right now
by a mile. Yeah. And
it shows how the waves are changing into your direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one stat that I saw a few months back, when Spotify does their like end of year recap, I noticed that 10 of the top streaming artists of 2023, 5 of them were Hispanic. And so it was very rewarding to see that. I'm just very proud that I get to, represent my culture through my songs, and doing it in a way where I'm not necessarily changing it too much from what they're used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do these renditions, is because I wanted to still do what they're comfortable with, but just with a little twist. You know what I mean? And like you said, you know, your grandparents, you know, immigrated to the States, you know, a while back, only speaking Spanish. You know, with the amount of love and admiration and respect that I have for country music, it would be a shame for an entire culture to not be able to enjoy the genre that I love so much simply because of a language barrier. I am now, you know, in a position where I can eliminate that barrier by simply just taking my favorite country songs and making them Spanish, and then your grandparents can go, oh, so this is what they're saying.
Yeah. Dang, we going deep on this one. I love this, man. But also it makes a difference. I think there's some type of, whenever I have someone around me that understands my culture, I just seem to be more relaxed about it. But also the folks that are watching this right now may not know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest part, is that you're introducing to a whole new artist, a whole new area of fans. But speaking into all this and starstruck, I mean, first of all, I got a question about the industry. You've been here in Nashville long enough to understand how the industry works, at least the Nashville industry, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like it? I mean, I know musicians that don't seem to like the industry. They think the industry is a little rigged. And then there's some that say that, well, it's only rigged because you have a negative mindset to it. Where do you lie upon that?
I mean, I don't think it's a black or white thing. I think there's things about it that I love, and just things about it that I just can't, you know, I just can't process. At the end of the day, you know, it's called the music business for a reason. You know, there are people in charge of these businesses, right? Sony, Universal, Warner, they're the largest record labels. You know, they want to make sure that the artists that they sign, that they're committing to, that they're giving these huge advances to, they got to make sure that they're going to make that money back and then some, right? And so, you know, the way that these contracts are structured, the way that just the whole stigma of like, in order to be successful in the music industry, you have to be with this record label, you have to have a management, you have to have a booking agent, like all these like required moving pieces. I think that whole stigma is dying off little by little. And I say little by little in a humble way, because you know, we have TikTok, so, you know, and Instagram now, where artists at like 14 are blowing up and selling out.
That Oliver guy that came in with that Richmond song. That's a good example.
Yeah, there you go. He's on the older side, right? He's an older artist that, you know, completely trumped the whole like you're too old to be a successful artist card, right? He's, you know, he just said what he wanted to say, and he put it up on the internet with nobody to stop him, and it spoke to people, and now he's reaping the benefits. And he also had the opportunity to give in and sign a $10 million, $20 million offer from hundreds of record labels that have reached out to him. And we are now in these times where we don't even need to accept those. He's happy with where he's at. He's happy being independent. He's happy being able to put out the message to the universe that he wants to put out. Because as you know, once you commit to one of these companies, you kind of have to abide by their rules.
And they can also change what can happen in your trajectory.
Correct.
If you have so this is actually,
you lose creative freedom.
This is actually what brings me up to this question. I think it's a good question. Now, sorry, y'all, I'm talking straight here. We're having a good conversation. But one thing that I'm always curious about with artists, is your goal to be signed? Is your goal to stay independent? And if your goal is to be in between of that?
For a long time, you know, record labels, you know, before the socials and, you know, a long time ago, record labels actually took the time to develop artists, right? And to discover them when they're very young and still like, you know, unfamiliar with their sound. And so labels went out of their way to, you know, take them to lessons and put them on stages and create these artists, right? Nowadays, all the weight is on the artists, right? Artists are doing most of the heavy lifting. They're out there having to book their own shows, having to post their own content, having to, you know, get viral videos. And those are the metrics that these labels look for, the indicators for them to go, okay, this is worth our, $500,000 investment or $1 million investment, whatever it is. And so at that point, does it really make sense for the artist to fully sign their life away to these companies when they already have traction going? And so going back to your question about, is my goal being signed? It used to be that, because when I first got to town, you come with a naive mindset and you're still trying to figure things out and learn the industry. But no, as of right now, my goal is not to be signed. My goal is actually to create my own empire. And I'm actually in the process of starting my own imprint, meaning like my own indie label. And I'd basically be signing myself to my own company. And then just, with tools like distribution tools, such as TuneCore, DistroKid, who some of my favorite artists use, like Russ, the hip hop artist. He uses TuneCore, which is basically like $7 a month to use. It's an online portal where all you got to do is, go to the website and upload your song, and it appears on Spotify by that Friday. And you're not having to, go through the whole process of getting a label's approval and all this stuff. You're literally doing it yourself. You're running your own ship. And so we have so many tools at our disposal these days that, it's gonna take quite an eye-opening deal for me to even, consider signing with somebody. Fame is not my ultimate goal. At the moment, my goal is to simply, represent my roots. That's very important to me. I take a lot of pride in that, and I pray about it every single day. And my goal is to simply make the music that I love, the most authentic music that I can make, and also make that audience aware that I exist, and go out there and play the shows that I want to play, and in God's name, sell them out, and just create a good time for everybody.
Well, that's amazing, because I think that's super important that you're able to do that. Like I said, that's actually one of the reasons why, because I curate everybody that comes on the show. And, that was one thing that spoke loud and clear when I found out about your music. And when I was put onto your music, it was he was a Latino. Number two, he kind of looks like me with the light skin.
There you go.
And then second of all is like, okay, how's he different from everyone else? And it was super apparent from just looking at 4 or 5 year posts. Actually, let everyone know who doesn't know where to find you and your music, first of all.
So my name is Sammy Arriaga, originally from Miami, Florida. I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. If you guys go to Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, it's literally just my name, Sammy Arriaga, with 2 R's. If you could roll your R's, you get extra points.
Yeah, and I couldn't roll my R's. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back, and we're going to go on to our section called Crowd Noise, where people ask you questions. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Your biggest musical influence?
Biggest musical influence? It's funny because, like I said, being from Miami, I was raised on so many different genres. So I have influences in different genres. So, for example, as a vocalist, I've always loved Mark Anthony. And, growing up, that's like literally all I listened to at home, basically.
Makes sense, yeah.
A ton of Mark Anthony. And then I got into like a little jazz phase. So then I fell in love with Sinatra, of course. And then, I love Bublé, the modern day Sinatra, if you will. And then I discovered country music. And then there's guys like Vince Gill.
Love Vince Gill.
Yep, Keith Urban, Ronnie Dunn. I love Ronnie Dunn's vocals. I mean, one of the best vocals in country music history.
Any Texas artists? Any Texas country guys?
Besides George?
Yeah,
I mean, Freddie, the good old Freddie Fender, man.
Ooh.
You gotta give it to Freddie.
Freddie, and
he started the movement.
Speaking of Texas, before we move on to Texas, because I'm always gonna bring up my home state. I love San Antonio. I mean, you said you have fans in San Antonio. I mean, why do you think South Texas is resonating with your sound?
Man, it's just, it's basic. It's pretty clear that Texas is pretty packed with a ton of Hispanics, especially with Mexico being right there.
Yeah.
It's been wild on, while sharing all these Spanish versions of country songs. TikTok and Instagram seem to be just pushing all my content towards Texas, and they're going wild in the comments. And, I've already been telling my small little team that we're going to have to make a Texas tour happen really soon.
Well, it's because all the ranchos were there. South Texas, you got right. You have all the border towns, right? And then you have Corpus, which is another undercover. Like no one thinks about Corpus as a city in in Texas. But so is it around that area that most of the streams are coming from, or is it even like up to Dallas?
It's everywhere, man.
Sick.
It's literally Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Corpus. I mean, I recently did a show in Brownsville.
Yeah,
all the way dude. I mean, it doesn't get more like
it doesn't get any more south.
Yeah. I played a show in Brownsville. I got hit up by the SpaceX team to do like a little private on-site performance.
No way.
Yeah, and it stemmed from Nashville. Somebody in Nashville was doing the booking. And I instantly said, yeah, I'm definitely playing on the SpaceX headquarters. I mean, just the fact that I saw the rockets and saw like what it's like to live, they live on site where they have to wake up at a certain time, go to work, then they go to lunch. And it was pretty cool though. I mean, they have like an on-site honky tonk, like a little bar, and they have a stage and all. And I performed for a few hours there and met some of the staff, and it was a pretty cool experience.
All right, here we go. So let's go on to another question here.
What is a moment or an interview that you had that was really just like a pinch me, I'm dreaming moment?
I wouldn't say an interview, but I would say an encounter. I was freshly moved from Miami to Nashville. I don't even think that I was a year into town. One of the guys that I had met through the Facebook process, where I got the names from the booklets, he's a successful songwriter, and they were celebrating a #1 song. And here in Nashville, they love to do those celebrations at like little cocktail bars or restaurants. They'll like block them off for like an hour or two just so that they can commemorate all the songwriters and labels and industry people involved in the success of the song. And it was a Keith Urban #1. And I mean, like I said, he was one of the reasons why I fell in love with country music. And I got the opportunity to basically come say hello to him, during his #1 party. And my crazy ass hid my guitar in a bush outside of the restaurant so that if I did get a chance to meet Keith, I can run to grab my guitar and be ready for the autograph moment. And he was sweet enough to sign it. So
no one's out of reach here in Nashville. Do you feel like, as you've been here for 13 years, do you feel that the community's gotten closer or farther away from each other?
That's a great question, because when I first moved here, believe it or not, social media wasn't as prominent as it is now. Social media was very limited. So people were literally, meeting each other at these events in person, having more, real life experiences, which I miss, but it still happens, I would say. I think it also helps that every once in a while on social media, if somebody aligns with what you're doing, or the content that you're posting, you'll get a message saying, hey, I love what you do, we should collaborate, or we should make a video sometime.
What stage in Nashville has been the most intimidating to play?
Every once in a while I'll get invited to play at like a publishing house. So
like BMI or something like that?
Yeah, like BMI or like a publishing company. Like, for example, I played a Warner Chapel. They have a stage inside of their publishing building, and they'll invite like a group of like 7 to 8 writers to come and just play a couple of the new songs that they've been, working on, so that other writers and other publishers can become aware of not only who they are, but what their style is based on just like them and their guitar. Mm-hmm. And I did that. I do that pretty frequently, but I did one many, many years ago. When Sam Hunt was just getting his start, right in the beginning of his crazy growth, and I'll never forget, I had to literally play before him, and it was a little intimidating because I was already a massive fan of him, but thanks to that moment, it allowed me to become friends with him and connect on a personal level, because it helps that we share, we were sharing their stage that night, and that we had other friends that were in the room at the same time as well, to kind of break the ice a little bit and create a friendship. Those scenarios kind of intimidate me a little bit, because it's so like suit and tie and like golf clap, I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like fans. Yeah,
exactly.
We're so used to that, right?
Suits.
It's suits. Yeah, we're playing for suits basically. And so I would say those are the most intimidating ones for me.
So, and now we're talking 13 years in Nashville. I mean, what are you chasing at this point? I mean, seriously, like what's your goal? I mean, what's your goal? Do you want to reach that goal this year? Do you want to reach that goal in 2 years? Are you planning out, what success looks like, and how far longer do you want to race to find it?
All such great questions. Well, first of all, my definition of success over the last 13 years, I feel like has constantly changed. Because, especially with just how society is evolving every second, we're having to, learn new tools and adapt to what's happening. And, I'm very thankful that, growing up, I was taught to be like the chameleon, right? To adapt to your surroundings and adapt to what's working, especially on the business level. I would say the first 5 to 7 years of me being here, I did it all. I was signed to a major label. I was signed to the biggest booking agencies in town, WME and CAA, which were all experiences that every artist should experience, and I'm very thankful that I went through them. And then I met the people that I met and collaborated with the people that I collaborated with. But, thankfully now I'm fully independent. And, it took me doing all those things to really understand what I really wanted to do with my life and as a creator. And it allowed me to strengthen the business muscle in my mind as well, to know how to go about my music in a more efficient and just strategic way, where I would benefit more in the long run. So, even though I got dropped from Sony Music in 2017, most people would see that as like, oh, he got dropped. What happened there? Is
that really a thing that they talk about too? Is like,
people will take those moments and, portray them as like a failure, because they're probably like, well, why did Sony drop him? What happened there? Should we not sign him? Like, there's a reason why he's been in town this long. And it's basically because, it just wasn't the right time, and they didn't understand what the vision was. I didn't understand what the vision was, to be fair to them. But looking back now, it was a blessing in disguise. I was able to regain ownership of all my work, which is a hurdle that a lot of artists wish that was easier to overcome. A lot of artists get shelved for many years and never see their way out. But I was thankful, I'm very thankful to this day that I was able to get out. And since then, I've just been building independently, using all the tools and figuring it out for myself. I would say my ultimate goal and where I'm seeking success is fully understanding the foundation of my business, of the music business for my sound and my music, and how I can use that to not only empower my music and my voice, but also empower other creators that I believe in the long run. I definitely see a future where, this imprint can get, I launch it off the ground, get my thing going, start touring, start doing my thing. And then who knows, maybe I can start finding talent and start kind of playing the A&R role and finding other artists that I believe in and writers as well. And, bring them along for the ride with me, have them open up shows, have them write songs with me. And it'll be one big old beautiful family tree. So,
I love that. That's a great way to form it. Now, I got 2 questions here, my last 2 questions on the show. And then I'm excited to see where you take us for your day in the life.
Okay.
Now, the last 2 questions, the first question always has to do, they know this at this point, always has to do with hate.
It's a strong word.
Because I think that there are a lot of people that doubt you, the doubters, the people that didn't see your vision in the beginning. You can say that for people or companies, or you can say that with family, And how do you not let it get to you? How do you keep the tunnel vision? And, what mechanisms that people that are watching this right now can use?
Man, I love this question so much. I have a lot of friends that they don't take rejection easily. And I just told them, I'm like, the second that you flip the mindset of like, they don't think that you have what it takes, instead of thinking like, man, I wish I could make them believe in me. It's like, you should never beg for love. In general, love should never be begged for, because it's the worst version of it, right? And so I'm very thankful that early on, and you know, I think it's a personality thing as well. You know, coming from an entrepreneur's family, is that the second somebody rejects you or shoots you down or tells you that you're not good enough, they're kind of doing you a favor. They're kind of like telling you, like, I want nothing to do with this. Find someone else. And so that's the mindset moving forward for me, is that if I sit down with somebody and I play them a song and they're not vibing, I already know they're not gonna be on the home team. So I don't even waste my energy or my time on that. I just keep moving on, keep moving forward, and find somebody else, because you'll eventually find someone who's so crazy about what you're doing, so passionate, that they're going to be calling you in the middle of the night saying, like, I can't sleep, I have so many great ideas. And I'm just very thankful that, you know, I kept that mindset for such a long time. And as of late, I've really attracted into my life, more than ever before, that kind of energy within the tribe, you know.
Absolutely. You know, let's talk to the fans real quick. Let them know that, you know, what message would you like to give to them?
I would say just be yourself. I feel like if you're gonna put a message out into the universe, make sure it's a positive one, because we already got tons of negativity lingering in the world. And whenever you go out and create content, like if you're trying to make a song or a video or whatever you're trying to create, you know, make sure you're providing value. You know, don't make it seem like you're like tapping on the window at a red light to somebody and go, hey, buy my mixtape. You know, They don't know you from Adam, right? So try to provide value, and you know, don't let the industry change you and tell you that, you know, that you don't have what it takes. You just keep sticking to your guns. Try to do whatever it takes to you know, maintain a positive mindset, and don't take the time with your loved ones for granted. My dad went through one of the toughest years last year, and you know, it really opened my eyes to start traveling home more and taking advantage of just not only your loved ones, but your friends and everybody around you who empowers your vision. Remind them that you love them and that, you know, you have their best interest. And so, just be you. That's really all I can say.
You know, what do you see yourself doing this next part of the year? How are you looking forward to it? I mean, is there anything that people can look forward to these upcoming months?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be making tons of music, as you already know. That's a no-brainer. But my main goal this year is to tour. I want to get out on the road. I want to get to know some of my biggest supporters in the world. It's been many years since we've been on the road, but I feel, you know, that I finally have regained the confidence, especially with all the growth we've had in the last few months, to get back on the scary road. And but they're making it less scary, let's just say that, especially with all the love and support that they're showing on the socials. But I'm excited to get back out there, and I'm stoked to tap more into the Spanish language more than ever as well in my music. I feel like I haven't done it enough, but I'm gonna be doing more of that this year. And I mean, here's to more growth. Here's to more Latino awareness in country music. And here's to good vibes.
All right. Well, let's set up this day in the life here. So what you're going to do is you're going to say your name. You're going to look straight into that camera right there. Say your name and say, this is how I walk the line. And that's going to be the intro to your day in the life. Think of Johnny Cash. Okay. And 3.
What's happening, y'all? I'm Sammy Arriaga, and this is me walking the line.
I'm Sammy Arriaga, and we're at ExitInn here in Nashville, Tennessee. But unfortunately, they won't let us through the front. How about we go through the back? This is how I walk the line. We got a fancy reservation somewhere out in a hayfield. Little pit stop before we fire up the 4 wheels. Grab a couple cans and some corn nuts. Laughing 'cause you always make the best crunch. Windows real low while we're flying down the highway. Even though it's Monday, why does it feel like a Friday? Little dose of heaven in the headlights. We got the recipe for a good time. Goes a little vroom vroom, little bit of boom boom. Yeah, they hear us from a mile away. Howling at the full moon to an old Hank tune. Slow dancing in the dark while the crickets sing. If tonight was a song, you'd bet you that melody is gonna sound country.
This is probably my
favorite song I've ever written. So this song's called The Boat.
Sunday, you got a second? Let me pour us both a glass. You need to have a conversation nobody likes to have. Your brother gets the title, your sister wants the house. Take a minute if you need it, don't gotta know right now. I said sure I'll make a list, but it's probably for the best. You don't leave me the boat, those fishing poles, they'll never see another wave. You're stuck on the dock, collecting salt, keeping your memory at bay. Won't be the same without my best friend, smiling with me while I read warning. Wish that you could take it when you go. Don't leave me the boat. It was never about fishing, but man, we sure caught up. About life and love and winning, couldn't figure out a single one. Hell, I'll wear your watches, walk in your boots. Of the things that I see you in is your favorite thing in the whole damn world, but then I just can't do it. Don't leave me the boat, those fishing poles, you'll never see another wave. Stuck on the dock, collecting salt, keeping your memory at bay. Won't be the same without my best friend, smiling with me while I read warning. Wish that you could take it when you go. Don't leave me the boat. My friends will hate me, call me crazy when they hear I turned it down. You always told me that it'd make me the coolest kid in town. But don't leave me the boat, those fishing poles, they'll never see another wave. You're stuck on the dock, collecting salt, keeping your memory at bay. It won't be the same without my best friend, smiling with me while I read warning. Wish that you could take it when you go. Don't leave me the boat. Make some noise for this incredible band on stage. Sean C. Kennedy on the guitar, Sam Goldstein on the pedal, Robert Cott on the drum pedal. Best boys in the world.